අද සිඹ සිඹ උදා ඉරක් පාය සැනසිලි සුව දෙන නවමල් සුවඳින් දැහැමි දෙයක් පිබිදෙයි දැහැමි දෙයක් පිබිදෙයි
I hope you watched the first episode of the Sri Pada pilgrimage. Now, let me continue by sharing what happened after arriving in Nallathanniya. Upon checking into the hotel, we decided to order lunch. Unfortunately, both the food and the room provided left us unimpressed. It seemed that the owners prioritized large groups facilitated by travel agents, while local tourists were somewhat neglected. The issue of preferential treatment for local travelers is not isolated to this particular hotel. I have observed it in various locations such as Galle Fort, Waligama, Mirissa, Polonnaruwa, Alla and certain areas in Kandy. It is disheartening to witness how the Sri Lankan tourism sector is negatively impacted by the hotel industry and the unscrupulous practices of unqualified tuk-tuk operators. In my opinion, the tourism industry has significantly deteriorated. While foreign tourists are undoubtedly essential, Sri Lanka should place greater emphasis on domestic tourism. I hope that one day the Sri Lankan tourism sector will address these issues, implement monitoring mechanisms, and adopt a more responsible role to safeguard the industry. However, a silver lining was the presence of Galle Cafe and Bakers right next to Punsisi. Operating almost 24 hours, they exceeded our expectation in terms of food and beverages, and the prices were reasonable. In fact, we managed to dine there throughout our 3-day stay. Following lunch, we took a nap to rejuvenate ourselves for the impending adventure. Dinner was enjoyed at Galle Cafe and Bakers around 8 p.m. Subsequently, we packed our backpacks with essentials such as ponchos, energy bars, water, snacks, a first aid kit, and extra white clothes for the temple. Outfitted in multiple layers of clothes, lead socks, and equipped with headlamps, we resemble low-budget astronauts. Despite well-lit sections along the road to the summit and cleared paths, we erred on the side of caution due to the wet weather, being wary of leeches and snakes. Departing from the hotel around 11 p.m., we reached the summit approximately by 4:30 a.m., taking reasonable breaks during the journey. As you ascend toward the summit, you will notice prices on items escalating. For instance, a cup of tea that cost 50 rupees in town may be sold for 200 rupees. If you're aiming to stick to a budget, consider bringing your snacks from the town. However, If budget constraints aren't a concern, there are plenty of food and beverage options available in the shops along the way. Once I share this travel tip, you may find these business operations more reasonable and ethical. Be prepared for various individuals attempting to manipulate and deceive you. Some may even disguise themselves wearing yellow monk robes or altering their appearance to the extent of wearing dirty and tattered clothes. While you don't necessarily require the blessings of these manipulators to complete the adventure, it's important to show respect for the culture, traditions, and attire at religious sites. Feel free to worship the Lord Buddha statue and the God Sumana statue for blessings, and consider making a small donation if you wish and are able to afford it. Refrain from using liquor, smoking, or engaging in indecent behavior that could disturb others as well as the fauna and flora. Above all, avoid littering on your way up or down. Keeping the environment clean will be the most significant blessing, enhancing your chances of successfully conquering this journey. The path is well illuminated in most areas, so headlamps or torches are not essential. While it wasn't crowded, we were cautious to maintain our distance from unnecessary issues. Not everyone embarks on this journey with purely spiritual intentions, so you may encounter people with various attitudes. However, the majority are humble, sincere, and friendly. I recall how strangers supported each other, assisting tired and elderly travelers, and even carrying babies to aid parents. Occasionally, you may encounter dishonest individuals, but generally, the local community is kind and helpful. After a 3-kilometer ascent, I began to feel knee pains and mild cramps, but my supportive husband was right by my side, offering necessary first aid and foot massages. Energy bars, light snacks, and hot beverages truly help to replenish our energy levels. A gathering of pilgrims is termed a Nade, with a leader known as the Nade Gura, who is expected to have undertaken numerous visits to the sacred mountain in their lifetime. A newcomer is referred to as a Kodukarya, subject to the guidance of the Nade Gura. If the newcomer is a child, they are called a Kirikodu, while an adult climbing for the first time is referred to as a Dandukodu. In our situation, I assumed the role of the Nade Gura, while my husband naturally became a Dandukodu Karya. Typically, one begins the pilgrimage by bathing at the Sita Gangula, donning white attire and offering worship to Lord Buddha with various offerings. Along the journey, people exchange blessings and recite verses. First-time travelers have specific rituals, such as bringing a needle and thread to be kept at Idikatupana, marked by numerous white threads. The newcomer is then expected to hand over the walking stick symbol or haramitya at the designated location. This symbolizes the challenges faced in the past when the path was poorly arranged, with pilgrims often embarking on the journey after finalizing their last will, as many did not return home. Few or zero boutique shops were available along the way, so travelers came to Idikatupana or Gittampana to mend their torn clothes using needles and threads found and wrought. Additionally, wooden sticks were stacked for use as walking aids. Despite modern amenities making the Sripada pilgrimage less arduous and unpredictable, newcomers are encouraged to uphold traditions and honor the countless souls who have supported this timeless journey. Due to time constraints and weather conditions, we opted out of bathing in Sitagangula. While it's not necessary to unquestioningly believe everything, it's important to consistently show respect for culture, traditions, and refrain from behaving inappropriately so as not to offend anyone. The most perilous segment of the ascent was the area known as Mahagiridambe, where pilgrims faced the danger of being swept away by strong winds. Beginning the climb at midnight and ascending to the summit by dawn to witness the breathtaking sunrise was an exhilarating experience. We arrived at the temple atop the summit around 4:30 a.m., greeted by an enveloping blanket of clouds. It truly felt like stepping into paradise, reaffirming my commitment to annually visit Sri Pada for as long as I live. The unparalleled peace and tranquility of the place are unmatched by any other experience I have encountered. Sri Pada is unquestionably the gateway to heaven. At the summit of Adam's Peak, there stands a sizable bell that every pilgrim rings, tolling once for each pilgrimage they have made to this sacred mountain, revered by the Buddha. Please take your time to appreciate the scenery at the summit and refrain from disturbing others. There is no need for competition to demonstrate who is the most devout Buddhist by chanting loudly or occupying spaces. Similarly, avoid making fun of others. I mention this because I have observed inappropriate behavior, and as mentioned earlier, public places like this attract individuals with varying attitudes. Simply steer clear of trouble and relish the journey without causing distress to others. You have the option to make a donation to the temple if you wish, but it is not obligatory. We commenced our descent around 8 a.m. As we journeyed back from the wilderness of Sri Pada Peak, we spotted several birds. I regretted not bringing my binoculars and bird guides, as there were many more species that I couldn't clearly identify. Identifying the orange-billed babbler or Ceylon refuse babbler, black eagle, yellow-eared bulbul, Ceylon hill white-eye, dusky blue flycatcher, and Sri Lanka smitter babbler was relatively easy without the aid of binoculars. Despite feeling exhausted and famished on our journey back to the hotel, we found ourselves without any cash on hand. We had only brought money for snacks, donations, and the last 100 rupees I gave to an elderly man who emerged from the thickets, begging. He explained that he resorted to begging due to unemployment. In a spontaneous gesture, I offered him a job in Colombo. However, upon further reflection, I discovered that many estate workers beg as a habitual practice, finding it to be quite lucrative. Term Sripada accurately signifies the sacred nature of the mountain in Sinhala, with Sri meaning sacred and Pada representing footprint. It has become the prevalent name for the mountain today. Encircled by an extraordinarily dense forest, a significant portion of which constitutes the peak wilderness sanctuary, Sripada contrasts with the lush, steamy vegetation typically associated with the tropics. Instead, it features a cool, misty forest reminiscent of the lower regions of the Himalayas. Among the two creatures still linked with Sri Pada, the first is the butterfly. Sri Lanka boasts a variety of splendid butterfly species, and annually they assemble into lengthy formations, sometimes comprising hundreds of these creatures gracefully flying through the countryside. According to popular legend, these butterflies are en route to Sri Pada to pay homage to the Buddha's footprint. The other creature associated with the sacred mountain, albeit less pleasant, is the leech. Ibn Battuta, the Moroccan traveler who explored Sri Lanka in 1344, shared the sentiment of many who were appalled by the tenacity and ferocity of these leeches. He noted that pilgrims would carry lemons to ward off these persistent creatures. However, there's no need to worry about leeches if the weather isn't wet. We didn't wear leech socks on our return journey. On January 24th, we caught the Nalatani to Hatton bus at around 11 am. Fortunately, the train was delayed by about 35 minutes. So, instead of the expected 11:48 am arrival, the Potimanik arrived around 1:45 pm. As it was raining, it created the perfect cozy atmosphere to relax, watch a movie, and catch up on sleeping during our journey back to Colombo without the worry of filming the train journey again. Perhaps next time, with the better camera gear, I will capture another video, including the return journey. Around 7:30 pm, we arrived at Maradana railway station. I trust our videos aided in planning your Adams Peak excursion. Should you have further inquiries, don't hesitate to leave a comment or message us. Until our paths cross again, adios travelers.